Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mini Metroid. This time this will be not a complete but very close attempt of my another attempt of the Hong Kong's 8 achievement, which is delivering 1,100 passengers in Hong Kong without any line having more than 8 stations, which is it's honestly an achievement that can be quite annoying and can be. I feel like it's one of those achievements that is hard to achieve consistently because of RNG factors. That means like maybe sometimes you're unlucky enough to not get a train line for 2 or 3 weeks, and like an additional train line for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, and all your train lines already have 8 stations. So it's kind of an I suppose, like, part of me wants to say it's kind of like a oversight in design, but yeah, I'm not here to criticize the game too much, but certainly it was just one of those things that's just sort of a little frustrating because you're sort of relying on factors that are not entirely within your control. So it's yeah, so I just found myself restarting a fair amount of times, and at other times where I was just like not really like super duper 100% focused, it was very easy to accidentally apply more than 8 stations to one line, so that also got a bit frustrating and sort of resulted in more than half of my repeated attempts at this achievement. But nevertheless, I feel my attempt on this achievement is good enough. Whether I want to extend it, whether I want to really try and break the 1,100 barrier is definitely something I will have to. Something I'll just have to see whether I've got the spare time to actually, continue playing and keep getting better at this game, because I find the more it's sort of like having to rely on luck sort of takes some of the fun out of the game, whereas it's yeah, it's definitely a tricky balance slash game design principle. So it's something that's something that I honestly think might have been an oversight on the developer, but nevertheless, it's certainly I can, like, when I've been attempting the achievements, I can see and feel that the achievements, the actual numbers and the limitations have been tuned and tested. So certainly there is some plausibility to them, basically. Alright, well, enough about discussing about game design and unintentionally criticizing the game. Let's actually take a look at what we have here. So, one of the main problems that tended to occur within this achievement, or maybe with the Hong Kong lines in general, is that it's very easy for a master circle station to spawn near the bottom, or at least on the south side of the river. And the other main thing to watch out for is that due to the nature of this map, it's very easy to forget to keep tunnels on to keep like an extra bunch of spare tunnels on standby. So part of the management of this achievement is knowing when to get a line and when you can get an extra set of tunnels. Somehow, actually, the restriction on this achievement makes it a bit easier for you to determine just that, but I suppose it's just the principle of figuring out when you should get another line and when you should get tunnels, because basically, it's like, if all your lines are already covering 8 stations and you really can't make any adjustments, then it's a little more obvious that you should get a new train line. But if not, if you've still got a bit of leeway, maybe you can afford to micromanage a bit, then you can definitely get some tunnels. So that's probably the crux of my decisions to make for week 3 and week 4. It's very easy to sort of jump and grab a new train line whenever you get the opportunity, which is completely understandable, really, because you kind of want that security and the flexibility of having just basically the security and the flexibility and ultimately the peace of mind. So and then when you realize that's maybe not entirely working 100% of the time, then it's well, at least that was the case for me. It was obviously time to sort of just rethink, okay, how else can I adjust my strategy to sort of just try and like account and to keep within the restrictions of these achievements. So that's where I sort of realized that I needed to pay attention to how many like the current number of train stations on each line, as well as the number of tunnels I have on hand. So right now I'm having a bit of trouble sort of reorganizing the green line, because I was trying to figure out, because basically I wanted to connect it to the orange line, since because we already have a bunch of unique stations on the blue line in the bottom left, in that little island on the bottom left, and obviously, so I still needed to keep the green line connected to the orange line. Although whether that was actually necessary or not, like in the short interim, for like maybe just for now, until the orange line started having troubles, maybe it may not have been necessary. The other difficult thing in sort of dealing with this particular map was that the fact that there's only one square station, so there was a bit of a some tricky decision making to make with regards to just trying to keep enough traffic flowing to the square station, because literally you will be getting square customers spawning from all over the map. So obviously you wanted to be able to connect everything, or have some kind of route for square customers to travel to the square station without like maybe allowing for a whole bunch of congestion within. So, and that on top of just trying to keep a general distribution, it's like I've complained before when say you have a bunch of circle stations in the row, like as we can see on the orange line, we can see 3 circle stations in succession on the left of the orange line, and on the red line in the bottom middle we can see another three circle stations in succession. So that definitely made things a bit difficult. So as you can see, I picked the line since I noticed that at this stage all my train lines were at 8 or near 8 stations. So if I didn't grab a line, then there would have been some difficulty. So thankfully at the end of this week I got a new train lines, which made my life a bit easier, allowed me to gave me a bit more flexibility in letting the green train line sort of just handle its own. Just taking another look. We'll probably have to check back on the video, but I have a feeling that I accidentally put 9 stations on the green line, which might have meant I might have just screwed up this achievement unintentionally. But nevertheless, thank you for the pink line being there to help us out a little, to be the connecting train line between the orange, the blue, and also thanks to that square station for spawning there, which basically means I could shorten the distance to the square station for some of the lines, which definitely made transport a bit easier. And things like this also help in the distribution of stations, as I mentioned before, like with my gripes about having several like the same shape lines in succession, as I said before, with the circle stations, which seems to be usually the only ones that actually seem to be consistently spawning in succession. Nevertheless, I like to think we're doing well, and at this stage, as usual, and as we've always seen in the Hong Kong maps, we always have a bunch of stations that are spawning on the bunch of left islands. But thankfully, to this pink line, we've gotten a bit. We've definitely got some additional control over how some of the customers are being transferred, and as a result, things are working smoothly enough, really. So definitely it's one of the things I was sort of just agonizing over was how we can get the say the unique station customers spawning on the orange line over to the blue line efficiently enough. And now that I've said it, sometimes it's actually not about efficiency, it's actually just, it's sort of still how do I want to say, it's sort of like it doesn't matter how efficient it is as long as they manage to get there and the train system does not have any significant congestion. So, and yeah, actually, that was actually one of the things that really sort of just eased my mind a little on some of the challenges, especially when a lot of congestion issues are happening. Because I think it's very easy to get stuck on the notion of efficiency, because it's like when you're a service, you want to provide, or like when you're offering a service, you want to provide your customers with the best service, and as a result, efficiency sometimes just tends to be a major thing that is very easy to focus on and very easy to get stuck on, without realizing that maybe that sometimes as long as it works, it's good enough. Which is, as I understand it, a kind of how do I want to say it? A kind of I kind of think in the working world, because it's like when you have deadlines, or like when you're doing your school assignments, and it's very easy to want to fine tune like some kind of project. Like I'm thinking in terms of my own situations where, like, say I want to fine tune a programming project because maybe I've got a whole bunch of spaghetti code that's like really messy, it's really inefficient, but like fine tuning it would take a lot more effort. And if I had the deadline, and if the program still worked, and sometimes it's just easy to go ahead and accept that I've got a solution that works, even though it's inefficient, and it will have to do for now. And then you come back to it when you have time, and maybe you just put it away in the back of your head, and or just store it in the back of your head until a more reasonable solution comes along. So here again, I'm lucky enough to get at the end of I wasn't paying attention to which week it was immediately, but I was lucky enough to get another line which definitely helped with moving. Well, of course, it's the yellow line, which definitely helps with sort of moving passengers from the orange line to the others, since sort of the orange line is kind of a bit isolated on its own. And one of the things that might be handy to sort of just maybe as some kind of tip is that if you look at the orange line, I've got the pink line threaded through the only unique station on the orange line. That saves the trains from the orange line from having to move customers aiming for that unique station, because I can just do it via the pink line. And because the pink line is the pink line isn't completely saturated with stations. It's got 6 out of the 8, so that's not really much of a issue. But the main point I wanted to make was that I've threaded the yellow line on the right of the orange line, so that sort of like when the trains are moving around, they've got 2 places to dump customers, and as such, it sort of just helps ease the flow of transport of customers a bit more smoothly, really. And so yeah, things are getting a bit tight with a bit more congestion, but thankfully we get 2 locomotives per week. So it's now the end of the week, so I'm deciding between a line and a carriage, and probably hovering over the line, since I definitely want to make things a bit easier, especially for the stations up the top. Now, I'm just trying to remember what I did here. And okay, so yes, one of the issues I was dealing with was that the orange, there was a lot of stations spawning near the top, and as a result, I was having to continually readjust the orange line. And also, with there being a fair amount of congestion on the orange line, obviously there wasn't enough like exit points and enough like trains moving around and transports for basically me to ferry customers off the orange line. So it then became, so for me it made sense to put the I think it's turquoise. Yeah, turquoise. I'll call it turquoise. And also that also helps with sort of just threading through the circle stations in. Well, if you look at the orange line, in the upper middle, there are 3 circle stations in succession, and one of the strategies that was suggested to me in order to deal with it was to actually thread another line through the middle of those successive circle stations, which I have found in most of my runs has definitely helped. So thank you to Bear for that suggestion. I'm just trying to think what I'm doing now. The blue line's definitely getting a bit of congestion, and you can see some micromanagement happening. I've sort of learned a bit more about micromanagement. Like it's very easy for me to say micromanagement without describing what it is. So it's when I say micromanagement, I mean like it's sort of just like reordering trains and just putting them on different lines, or maybe on different parts of the lines even, to help deal with stations that are starting to get really full. And I've just wondering if I can explain this in a simpler way, but it's sort of like when you move a train, what it would do is that it will deposit all of its customers at the next station it will arrive at. Then it will move to the point that you've then it will move the point. Then it will immediately teleport to the point that you've dragged it to. So I've sort of used that, and I've been probably pausing a little too frequently at times in order to actually micromanage these trains so that I can take care of some of the more congested stations. Definitely on the yellow line, I'm pretty sure at some stage I detached the final triangle station because I wanted to make the line shorter, and it was like some of the congestion happening is that obviously like maybe because the line was too long, and I just needed to actually deal with it. But nevertheless, my little micromanagement there was a little late, and so as a result, I wasn't quite able to achieve 1,100. But yeah, if I was a bit more careful, if I paid a bit more attention, I definitely think I would have just hit 1,100 on this run. So overall, I'm pretty happy that I've made progress with this achievement, and whether or not I'll actually post a successful video really depends on whether I can be bothered actually playing this again and how much of a perfectionist I am. But nevertheless, I still enjoy trying and playing this game. So we'll have to see, because there are plenty other games I would like to play, and it's obviously a trying to juggle my priorities sort of thing. So yeah, there's still some number of other achievements I have to get through. So yeah, that's for me to figure out, and that's for me to figure out. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.